stopping down? Where should you sit? Can we join the happy team over here? There we go. It's all going to change in minutes anyway. Okay, firstly, thank you for making it through the Wales of either the M5 if you're coming from Sandwell at the moment, or trekking up through Walsall. Firstly, I'm big welcome from Halesowen and a happy festive TeachMeet. Just a few Santa safety messages with my internal colleagues. There are no scheduled fire alarms this evening. So if it goes off, then please do follow the man with the elf ears, and he'll take us outside and make sure we're all safe. Okay, follow that elf. Okay? We'll make sure that we take the registers and that you are all safe. So there's no scheduled fire alarms this evening. It's one long continuous bell when it does go. Male and female and enabled toilets are just outside through the double doors and to the right. All the things that you need to know is it's been sponsored tonight by our Erasmus project. Okay, we are going to run a video camera at the back, but if you want to be outside the camera shot, we will tell you an area where you want to sit. Okay, we do hope that you enjoy your evening. It's part of the festive fun tonight. If you have time, you will notice you have a little TeachMeet programme. And in tonight's great Christmas prize event, you have 3 competitions. There's a Christmas Sudoku that you can have a go at. Just make sure you put your name on it so we can award the prizes a bit later. There's the secret author, who's the secret Santa author behind the beard. And if you decide that you're going to get dressed up and feel the magic and feel the love like Richard is tonight, if you decide to take a selfie and you tweet it to TM Halesowen, okay, it could win you an additional prize tonight. So, without much ado, we're a little bit behind schedule, as in classic TeachMeet style. We should have started at 5. The English TeachMeet is actually going to be in the room next door. Our guest speakers tonight are going to be David Bird from AQA and his colleague, hello Jay, over at the back there, with the maths team. And we're going to roughly about 6:45 call you back in here and do a few evaluations so we know what you want for the next time. The next event is going to be running at Halesowen College, so feeding on from your meetings tonight, what do you want to see at the Halesowen event? And again, last year it wasn't very well attended, the spring event, so if you give some ideas about what date it could run, that would really help us a lot. It wasn't very well attended, we had to cancel it last time. We don't really want to do that again this time. So at this stage, if you are Team English, you might want to take your little tray of food with you and a few more reserves. You are going to be going through with a lovely Laura, who's not wearing her Santa hat, she's got away with it. Okay, we'll follow the lady with the Santa hat with Marco DIY on it, and a Nick to Nick's nose. So please follow the Santa. You'll make use of these resources where you can find them. We're on a budget. Okay, so English, you will be through in the next room. If you've just arrived, please can you make sure that you've signed off by registering an email address? Thank you so much. Maths, you're staying in this room here this evening. Okay, so enjoy your evening. Thank you very much. Please do get moving. You see Walsall? You're with Walsall, no right? Sandwell, oh right, we'll beat you to it. We've already had one Sandwell was at Empire this evening. He's beaten you, he's on the Christmas prize already to get first up the road. He's beaten that then by traffic.
Looks like very
No, fine. So you get some food, so that's really You're from Walsall, aren't you?
No.
You're not from
Really
You're independent. That makes sense.
I said last time I was hanging out in the water to work talking about integrating things like Slack.
Now, David, how would you like to arrange these lovely people?
Well, they can be as far away from me as they like.
Oh, they might want to move forward. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I can talk around here.
Oh, right, there we go. Fantastic. And the English people are just zooming off as we speak.
You want to join one of the table?
Are you English or mathematics? How would you prefer to be? This is David. So
Put the
AQA
authors, prints out my
talking
authors.
about the
I
AQA
wanted them.
new resources, you may want to come and
Okay.
then float
I think it's
through.
flow through.
Yeah, you might float through.
There you go.
Do come and stay, so do get some
Thank you.
Right, are we all ready for me to start?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Right, good evening everybody. My first. So I hope you find what Jane and I are going to talk about, mostly me, and I'm sure if I can't answer something Jane will interrupt, useful. I'm a maths advocate for AQA, which basically means that the maths team have a variety of different consultants around the country, and we come in and we help some colleges and schools as appropriate to work with qualifications. That's our kind of role. And this evening we've been given the remit to give you some feedback on the summer's exam, how it went. And there's been lots of information everywhere put out anyway. And then any ideas or discussions for next year and what to expect. Maybe people just give me a little bit of knowledge about their own background with doing legacy, spec or whatever. Can you just go across your colleges, because it's the first time I've been here, so can you give me a bit of background?
We've just started, this is our first year as a new 91 spec program.
Right.
Prior to that we did our last legacy, the last sit of the year.
Okay, so did everybody do AQA in the legacy? What were you doing previously?
We haven't done AQA before,
So we did OCR for the legacy and we did our November resit with yourselves.
Okay, so this is mostly a new thing then, moving to AQA. And what experience have people had of looking at all the detail of the spec, and stuff like that? What have people done? Have you done a lot of work on all the different bits and pieces, the new material, all this kind of stuff? Well, we sometimes go, when Jane and I sometimes go into places and it's like, even though the spec's been around for 2 or 3 years, I go into a college and I haven't really even done anything on it because they're a college rather than a school, you see. So that's what I'm asking in terms of, have you got hold of the teachers' guidance, or you've done all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
we're using the topic tests.
And you're using the
I'm
topic
using
tests?
this how it works for some of my students.
Right, okay.
We use your season 5 as well.
Okay. Are you all using the 1 year route map? Yeah, so basically, right, so you're following the 1 year route map. Are you following it as it is?
Yes.
Are we?
At the moment, yeah.
Right, yeah, because I know some 1 or 2 colleges we've been into, it hasn't always fitted in and they've had to modify it. Because obviously it's a particular way of doing it and approaching learning, isn't it?
Well, we've got an adult provision as well, which we really need to rejig it for.
Yeah, and this is the issue, because of the fact that everybody's coming from different backgrounds and it's such a mixture, you don't necessarily find that one-size-fits-all route map actually works for you. Anyway, to begin with, we've got a video that Dave Bassett, who's
head of communication for it.
has put on YouTube. And I've got about a 3-minute section to play you on feedback from some of the exam. Okay, I don't know what people have read. Andrew Taylor, who's our head of maths at AQA, he has written blogs on better maths. He's done an online webinar. I don't know if everybody's watched that you can actually access on All About Maths. It's about a 40-minute webinar, and basically I'm using some of the material, a lot of the material from the feedback session to see. So I thought I'd do that for about half an hour, or whatever you feel fit, and then, discuss if you want to concerns for next year and what you think, in particular want to work on, and then the last 15 minutes just share on resources if we need to. But if you're all okay with All About Maths and know exactly what's on there, there's pointless doing that. Can I just ask, before we go any further, does everybody have login, who's here tonight, and in their teams, does everybody have a login for All About Maths? Right, so Antoinette, is the idea, or is the plan that everybody should have their own login for All About Maths? Is that a plan that we have?
It could well be across the different colleges. It would make sense to do that, really, wouldn't it? Richard?
Yeah, we do. We have logins. I know the A-level team do.
Right,
Esther, we have all
But
that.
how does it sound well?
Yeah, we can use
We are not following AQA this year. We switched to an Excel.
Okay.
We did the legacy in AQA.
There you go. Okay. What happens at Walsall? Where's my Walsall people?
They're not made it up the road. That'd be why it's gone quiet.
Okay, well those of you, if you're doing the spec for AQA, right, if you're doing another board, fair enough, but if you're doing the spec for AQA, I really would encourage you to get your own login for all about maps so that you can see around it, etc. And if you give your email address to Jane, if you give your email address at the end of the evening to Jane, we'll get it sorted out for you in about 24, 48 hours. So you've got access to everything on there. And if you're teaching A-level, there's lots of stuff on there for A-level. There's the A-level route map, and obviously there's GCSE statistics. So there's a lot of stuff on there. It's not just GCSE maths, obviously you've got access to it. Okay, so to begin with, this video, it's about a 26-minute video, and Dave Bassett is giving a summary. The English people, it can be useful to watch as well. He talks about English at the beginning. But basically, I've chosen a 3 or 4 minute section specifically on maths, okay, and some general feedback about the exam from the summer.
I know Mark's got one, I've got one, Esther's got one, Ruben's got one, so it's just a
You need to do that and press the wrong button. Come over there now. Sorry.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't bring a video because you're automatic, so.
Somebody said press the volume button, so I want to try and do
Because I'm feeling very well, she's off this week. Yes. He's saying, oh, very nice.
So, the regular conversation and again, this is really so again, we actually saw a very slight increase in the proportion of students getting 4 or above last year, or 7 or above compared to 8 last year. But roughly speaking, what's happened is so generally speaking, they are all grade, so we see that for.
So he's finishing off the English section now,
So that's why
and then he's going to move on to maths.
Again, as with English language, we see those slightly lower grade boundaries, especially at grade 1, for all the same reasons, and that's to be expected, and they're in line with what we anticipated seeing. I think one of the other things worth mentioning about English literature as well, before the exam series, I think there was a bit of concern about how the different options for set texts might perform, and whether students would be able to do equally well on the different options in the exam. Actually, what we saw in the event, really pleasingly, was that all of those different text options performed pretty comparably, and students did equally well whichever option they chose. So let's move on and take a look at GCSE maths. And again, we were really pleased to see that overall outcomes were nice and stable at a national level. So again, we actually saw a very slight increase in the proportion of students getting a 4 or above compared to C last year, or a 7 or above compared to an A last year. But roughly speaking, those outcomes were nice and stable and in line with where we hoped they would be. And again, also in line with the outcomes from our Year 10 mock tests from last year. One of the interesting things to look at with GCSE maths is where the grade boundary sat for a grade 4 on the higher tier exam. This is something that actually gained quite a lot of attention in the media, the national press around that time. Because it talked about a relatively small number of marks that it appeared you needed in order to secure that grade 4 on the higher tier. In AQA's case it was 19%, and the other boards were also around the same area. Now what's really important to understand is that this is exactly what we would expect to see, and shows that the assessment worked exactly as we had designed it to. The way that GCSE maths has to be designed is that the higher tier paper has to assess all the way from grade 4 right through to grade 9. Now there's 6 grades there, and so we have to target, roughly speaking, a sixth of all of the questions at each of those grades. So actually, for those students aiming for the lowest grade, grade 4, to get about a sixth of the marks suggests that, broadly speaking, they did access those questions that we hoped they would and didn't do as well on those other questions later in the paper. So that's exactly what we would have expected to see, and shows that those students were doing quite nicely there. And actually, the really interesting and big story with GCSE Maths is what happened in terms of those choices around tier of entry. We saw a really big shift compared to last year. So traditionally last year, we'd seen about 3/4 of students being entered for the higher tier and only about 1/4 for the foundation tier. This year, we've seen a huge shift, and it's moved to almost a 50-50 split. And what's really good to see is that actually, broadly speaking, teachers largely seem to have made the right decisions around that. So obviously, teachers have made different decisions about which tier to enter students for, based on the fact that different grades are available for those tiers, and of course the demand has shifted. And that has borne out in the way that students have actually ended up performing on the exam. So if you look at the foundation tier, what you can see is that last year, these figures are for AQA only, but again they illustrate the point, but last year about 34% of students managed to secure a grade C if they sat the foundation tier. This year, actually about 40% of students secured a grade 4 or above if they sat the foundation tier. So we didn't see a decrease in performance of students at that level. At higher tier, again, a really encouraging story. So last year, 90.9% of students who sat the higher tier managed to secure that grade C or above. This year, at grade 4 or above, actually 97.8% of students managed to secure that. So again, that shows that largely speaking, where teachers made the decision to enter students for the higher tier, that was the right decision, and we didn't see students falling off the bottom end of that grade scale and failing to secure the grade 4, which is really encouraging. Let's just take a look at a few more things about this year's GCSE results. So firstly, those 9 to 1 grades.
Okay, so I hope that made sense what he was talking about there. I think one of the big things about it is they weren't equivalent. So it's actually, I think you will say this, you know, that you can't make a complete match between the two, obviously. But I hope, you know, we can see that generally speaking, AQA were pleased with the results that they got. Do people have any kind of comment on that themselves? Did they see in the media about the 19% to get a grade C, level 4? I mean, any comments from anybody? Did anybody think that was low? Did any of you react to that?
I think there's going to be a swing again, where people do hedging their bets and put them into higher.
Well, this was the thing that came into my head. Because you remember when, like he said, it was 25, 50, 75 or whatever. People think, oh, 19%, level 4.
Suddenly my daughter, who's in year 11, has suddenly been put into the higher paper. So I'm having to do a lot of catch-up work with her, which she's not enjoying.
What was the percentage for level 3 for a 3 on the higher?
I've got other percent, I've got the actual grade boundaries.
Yeah.
I've got those in some slides in this one, you'll see.
Yeah, that was quite low as well, was it? Was it about, 4 was 19%.
So I've got them in these slides.
Yeah.
Can I come to that in a minute?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that all right? Any other comments, reactions?
One thing that is very positive, I mean, I teach further maths, and the grade 8 students, the grade 9, the grade 8 students, they're a lot more confident.
Right.
They are a lot more confident, and they're willing to take the challenge, if you know what I mean. And so that seems to have made a big difference. So this grade A before was such a wide knowledge.
Well, it's the top 3%, isn't it?
Whereas the 8s and 9s now, they seem to have a really good, solid, much better a basis to going into A-level, and I've noticed that. And the work ethic is different, the way that they're willing to accept challenge, and they want a challenge instead of everything stuff. So that's a change I've seen immediately.
Can I ask, what are you planning to do in terms of your entries for next year if you're doing AQA? What are you planning to do in terms of, are they going to be 90% foundation, a few higher, or what's the plan? That's what's seen in another college.
We're all foundation at the moment, but I think the temptation was there, albeit momentarily, given the low, given the low
I think
grade
it's
boundary.
because we run a year course, it's so hard to get the higher.
And I think if we could guarantee that that grade boundary was going to stay the same next year,
Yeah.
we'd probably go for it.
I suspect.
But it's too much of a risk.
Yeah, of course the 1 year route map is just based on those certain topics, isn't it? To get them for a 4. and it is based on foundation, isn't it? So,
Same with Halesowen College also, we're not following AQA, but still everybody's playing foundation.
Yeah.
And we have one class where we are handpicking the students. You go to that class for hire. So just one.
What's the concept of that? Like what?
Teachers' discretion, just because we got a lot of you could say Eastern European students pretty good in maths, but language.
yeah, and I think I've had this conversation with other things. There's a college, you've got people coming in, a Chinese student, whatever, somebody, and they're actually brilliant at
Yeah,
maths.
brilliant, yes.
But actually, it's the language.
Languages.
And that's what we've got to support them with, because it'd be a bit insulting in a sense for them to do foundation, because their maths ability is obviously way better than that.
Something else we've noticed across some of our classes, because they're coming from schools, is that some of the students have been taught some of the topics that are within GCSE foundation.
Right.
So I wonder if some of the schools are actually not giving them some of the grade 5 stuff. I know it's not grade 5 or class stuff, but they're not giving them the really difficult stuff and just put them down for foundation at school. So we're having to sort of either decide whether or not we're going to pick that up and try and teach
Well,
them.
I've had the same conversation in other colleges, the fact that will you actually go and do some of the trig or that ever. I mean, I'm marking the paper at the minute, the one we've just done, the reset. I mean, trig's right at the end of this one question.
Yes.
And you're going to think, you know, one question on this, is it really worth me giving up? It's a bit like doing the you know, in the A level, doing the big sample data set. Because in reality, how many points are actually going to be given to that when they actually sit the exam? And therefore, people are worried with that. I know about one teacher was concerned about the resources that were available for doing the large data set. But then if you compare that to how many marks, you know, you're going to bounce that up, aren't you?
But
That's
if
A
we
level.
put
But
higher next year, and we find out that all of them have come through and they've not been taught trig, they've not been taught
Yeah.
standard form,
yeah,
so they've come
that's
through and
going
they've
to
got
be a risk.
nothing,
Yeah.
then we're in a predicament where
Yeah.
that's where they wonder
Yeah.
what's going on with the schools
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
they're doing with the students and that.
Yeah, and I think you're probably, but I mean, in reality, in schools, if they're still setting students, the bottom sets, they know we're not going to get, what, the 2s and 3s, you're not going to teach them trig or standard form, are you, in reality, because it's going to be beyond
But
that.
they're functional skills, aren't they?
Well, the 3s have to do GCSE, which is the concern because the band is so low and
Yes,
high.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, you know, obviously, for me as a mathematician, you want to make sure you cover everything, but you've got to be realistic. And if you're following the route map, which is a 1-year retake based on, let's get you through the exam, which focuses on the 5 a day and all the different bits and pieces, if you're following that, there are literally only certain topics that she's chosen. But I think you've got to make that decision and balance that up with people from Eastern Europe or whatever who are brilliant at maths. And there's no easy solution, but you know, we've got things like the topic tests, haven't you? That AQA's got. There's a lot of resources, and even if they send you off to places on the internet or the TES or whatever, suggested resources and the route map. Obviously, one of the things which would be worth trying to get involved with, if you're particularly interested in certain questions and how they perform, is, Jane, we did have some feedback meetings, didn't we?
Yeah, they've virtually finished now.
Well, I mean,
they'll be going online. I'm sure there'll be.
yeah.
access
So
to
we
that.
actually had some paid-for feedback meetings that teachers could attend specifically, and they did a lot more detail on the feedback than I was allowed to do. And if that goes online, it'd be worth looking at that kind of material now. But if you go online and use the webinar that's actually on, you use the webinar that's actually on all about maths that Andrew Taylor does, about more feedback on the exam. He uses some bits and pieces from this presentation, although as you can see on those dates, it's from a slightly earlier time this year. So, Dave Bassett has obviously already summarised some of the stuff, but those were the kind of entries, and we've already discussed the fact that there was a much closer fit with foundation with higher, but those are some of kind of the figures that AQA had and nationally we had. And those were some of the responses to the actual papers that people gave comments they actually found. Does everybody understand the way the papers work? That they start easy, and that you must understand. I don't know how Excel works or whatever. But, you know, we've got multi-choice and all that. Everybody's okay with that. Yeah. So, you were talking about grade boundaries. You want to know about grade boundaries? So these were the cumulative percentage of the grade. The actual marks for foundation were there. That's what you wanted to know, isn't it?
I'm more concerned about the grade, because they can get a grade 3 on the higher, can't they?
But it's only how they describe it. Jane, they allow, was it?
Yes, I'm not sure actually.
Yeah, they can get grade
Allowed,
3.
yeah.
Yeah, just as a call it an allowed grade 3. Yeah.
So will that come through? Because what concerns me is if they've got a grade 3, they have to do GCSE rather than functional skills. But if they've got a grade 3 on the higher, they might have only got however many marks that require 33, which
33 marks. That's all they would have got. 33 marks out of 240.
Does that mean they're capable of doing GCSE or should they do functional skills? Will that come up as allowed on their actual certificate?
Oh, well, I don't know about that.
I don't know.
Or would it just be a grade
I'll find out
Sorry.
for you.
Because that's just something from a college point of view, if we're setting that kind of, for someone who's tried really hard on the foundation paper and got that higher mark to have the same grade as someone who's got 13%, kind of.
It's the same problems we've always had, even with the LSPEC.
They weren't
Really, at the end of the day, the problem's not gone away.
They weren't 13% though, were they?
To get a grade D
Because we have to
on the higher paper, it's very low.
They come in
Yes.
with 13% on the higher.
Yeah.
We don't have any choice.
No,
And I
but-
suppose that's our concern. Are they
A lot of
really?
them have been tutored to that,
Yeah.
from no
Yeah.
basic knowledge.
And then we've got to get them up to a 4.
Yeah, but then they're only going to follow foundation with you, aren't they? So at least they haven't got all that extra high material that they're
That's
necessarily
what
going
we're
to
thinking, for like next year, we're thinking of probably adding some higher,
All right.
changing, that's where we've got the question.
But what they've done, the whole philosophy behind this was to push up the top end of GCSE, try and push the kids into the top end and bring down the top end of A-level. So that's why I squeezed them in the middle.
I think that would have worked if they'd left the bottom end where it was, but at the moment they're leaving so many students behind because there is nothing else to pay for those low students.
So, I say that's the information. Does anybody want to ask any more comments or questions about the grade boundaries?
Do you think they're going to move?
It's all normalised, yeah. It's normalised, they'll stick to it pretty much.
Yeah, we have earlier in the year that a grade 4 might, a grade 5 might become a
Yeah, that's
grade
a
4
government
might
policy.
not be. Have you heard anything?
Well, I heard something on the.
Yeah, we've heard that as well.
There's a potential.
It's a
in
government
the
policy, the
future.
government will decide on that.
Because there's the standard pass and the good pass.
Yeah, it's standard and good, exactly right. But like you, we've heard,
They did
we've had nothing
well,
else.
originally I thought they changed
But
it so that they wouldn't have to get a 5. When they got to college, they had a 4, they wouldn't have to retake.
That's right, yes.
But I was beginning to hear, are they going to change that?
I don't know because we've not heard anything. There might be something after Christmas, but we certainly haven't heard anything. And if we had, we'd put it on the website to let you know if we'd heard anything. So, but I'm sure the press would be all over it and Tess would be all over it to be fair. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. I think we're
If
still
you
waiting
supposed
on
to get the
that.
grade 4, which is an accepted pass, it puts them in a position where
Yeah.
with
Yes.
future employers, then
That's
so you've
right.
got 4
Absolutely right.
pass.
That's the
right.
issue.
Even though
Because they
it is
don't
cost.
understand. I mean, parents don't
Yes.
understand,
Yeah.
let alone employers. So.
So that's all part of your information sharing, I suppose. With
We're just wondering if you had the heads up.
No, I'm not
No, sorry, not.
Yeah, more.
So those are the grade boundaries, and then obviously you all know about our design in our papers, our language, which hopefully would fit maybe more with some of the people from other countries. They would find language difficult. They even considered the amount of white space, and obviously we had our multi-choice questions and careful ramping up of demand. So this next section really might be difficult to talk about in relation if you haven't actually seen the papers. But it was because of the way you'll see, so that's 1F, right? So really I wanted to just highlight to you some of the nitty-gritties of some of the areas of the papers. What you find when we actually sat the exam, you'll see that there's a lot of variation within the approaches to the questions that they had. Now, I had 4 hours I did at one college, and we actually went through this, and we picked out individual questions, we looked at the examiner reports and all that kind of thing. stuff to actually pick out why questions are as they are. But you'll see that in terms of the actual student performance, even questions lower down caused problems. And it wasn't just, you can see some questions that perform better, but they are technically harder maths. But it's the reasoning, it's the understanding, it's the problem solving. There's a big variation. This is at foundation, which is obviously what you're particularly interested in. Because of that, it was easier for AQA to look at I do apologise. You also people turn their phone off, don't you?
1, 2, 2, 5, 6, 8.
Big line. Sorry about that. That's not a good training thing, is it? Oh, you didn't tell us to turn off. Antoinette didn't tell us to turn off then. So I can get away with that one.
I know Joy has a question though, that she's not asked. Joy, what was your question? I haven't asked a question, you said you wanted to ask.
No, that's it.
Have you already asked her?
About the grade. My grade band.
Oh, is that already been answered?
So basically, because of the disparities you can see between questions, obviously it's harder for AQA to give you general feedback on the overall performance. So what they did, they looked for the 3 papers, they do this at higher as well, they look at a 4-page section of the exam. So they took each 4-page section and then tried to show that was the performance per 4-page section of the exam. So obviously they were doing a lot better at higher up, and so you could see the general performance was okay. And that was the same at higher tier. Did you want to talk about any particular? You can see higher is just as varied, but I don't know if you particularly wanted to look at higher tier at all. We'll just talk about foundation.
So, what do we do the higher tier? Not at the moment, we don't. There's looking to do.
It's too much of a risk at the moment.
Yeah. Is that how the colleges?
There's a
We'd love to do it, and I think there's a lot of students at the moment who are asking for that.
Yes.
But a lot of them have done higher at school.
Yes,
and haven't passed. So it's like, do we put them through foundation and get them that pass?
Yes.
Or do we take another risk? We're in discussion.
How do the colleges feel? I mean, is it the same experience for the colleges? What about yourself?
Yeah, we have a similar situation. It does represent a significant risk for us. I'm from BMET, from Birmingham Metropolitan. And similarly to yourself, we have a lot of Eastern European and various other African nation students who really do believe that they have the ability to perform at a higher level and want to. But the college is strategically taking the position of focusing on foundation. That's where we are at the moment. The discussions are still taking place, but where we are is we're currently sitting on foundation.
How many students have you got sitting higher level?
About 18, less than 20.
I know it's Walsall was Walsall, Wolverhampton, and everything like that. You know, at Wolverhampton. But what experience did you have at Wolverhampton put in for a higher tier?
We've got one solid higher class, and I think there's currently 19 in that one. But they're students who've already got a seat. So we're accommodating those learners. But also we've gone with the policy of what they did in school, sticking with that. So we've got currently a mix of some higher and some curriculum areas where we're teaching the maths. So it's not ideal.
There is some talk of these kids that have got a C, they want to improve their grades. There's currently, in part of the documents that are coming through from the government now, the DFE, there is some talk of them moving on to the level 3 mathematical studies, because they're going to get UCAS points, they're going to get, it's a bit more kudos. The universities are now happier with that qualification than they were. So there is a discussion around that point, which is moving.
Because it is about moving forward.
At least they're not doing something, they're doing something that's more related to what their vocational studies could possibly be.
So if you're an engineer or a scientist.
I was doing some stuff with these, these Xenocard stuff with the psychologists.
Right.
It's a bit nicer than just doing GCSE again. I think personally, and it's an easier qualification than doing GCSE again. There's less content.
Just why are they going to so they're going to see that they've got an IS level, so therefore they've progressed, or
It's the way it's marketed, but it is getting there. People are recognising it's a better qualification.
She wants to debate. I think we could go on a completely different spin-off when you want for the next meeting, but yeah.
It's all right, it's okay. If I talk less and you not talk more, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point, yes,
Actually
that's
debating things. Because really, to do this in any amount of detail, we need a lot more than just the few minutes we've got this afternoon. I really just wanted people to get an idea of the fact that AQA were generally happy with the performance of the exam, and it performed as they expected. And as you can see, going through, as I say, banding of demand by four paper section, as you go through the paper, as it goes from easy to hard, it's done exactly as they would have expected. And as I say, but there are obviously some odd questions here and there. That's obviously got back the right kind of correlation, isn't it, going top to bottom. It isn't bad, but this one here is, why suddenly on 8D was a real dip, and then you need to sit down and obviously look at the question in particular.
It is quite a spiky profile, isn't it?
Yes.
And it would depend on what four pages you take.
Well, they just took the four.
So
Yeah,
they just took one section
throughout.
throughout.
Yeah, so it's going throughout. Oh yeah, it's throughout from beginning to end. Yeah. So, but what AQA will do, from looking at all that, is they will maybe have to move some of the questions. Obviously, it's deemed that some questions were in the wrong place. Even conceptually, we might think the material of 8D, which you can look at, was easy, but there were one or two questions there that really kind of threw me, even though they were lower down. But when you get to the trig questions, or I think trig was near the end, you can see that they're still being thrown by Pythagoras' theorem. So if we're thinking about areas of maths that we need to work on, trig would be one of them from the summer, right? Pythagoras' theorem. I've been marking AQA for a long time now, and I thought to myself, I can choose Pythagoras' theorem because they're not going to do very well at that. Well, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? As an examiner, I know that if I've got a mark 440, I'm doing 400 this time, this paper, but previously maybe I did 540 of that question, because it's just, they choose whatever questions they want the expert to mark, and a lot of the other ones, the multi-choice with one mark might be just marked by a general marker. I can go to Pythagoras' theorem and think, and that's bad really, isn't it? But in fact, that's the way it is. You'll find that that's one of the areas that, they'll do what? Find the area of a triangle or whatever on Pythagoras. Or whatever.
More easy questions that that would be a scenario.
and trig would be another one if we're talking, but then you've got to balance that up with how many marks are actually going to be there, haven't you? And that's
Sorry, were the ones that scored lowly, were they got a language in that question?
Well, what AQA, not necessarily, because that was one of the things that drove AQA in the first place, was to take it down. I mean, I marked paper 2F, so I was the team leader for paper 2F in the summer. And one of the questions there, I don't think people know the paper from the summer, but it was about a bath. Yeah, and just the concept of whether the person had more water than the shower. And then there was on the next page. So they did quite well on that in terms of which one uses less water. And then it was water conservation. And the next thing to show the concept of the person sitting in the bath, they had the rectangular cuboid shape and everything, and it really kind of threw them some of the ideas. And we had another one about how to use ratios and compare them, and that really threw them.
Are you saying then it was where they had the problem solving elements?
Yeah, because what you find is, because AO1 and AO2 do better than
that would be interesting. I think if you had that sort of breakdown, by AO1, AO2 or whatever.
This was the multi-choice.
There we go.
That's the performance by assessment objective. Yeah, as you can see, AO3 in 3F it's only on 1F, we've done there one, isn't it? As AO3 came out. I mean, if we're concerned about moving on maybe to talk about things for next year, it's the reasoning skills, isn't it? And even though you're saying that you're really encouraged by the level 9 people coming along and they've also got that, we're talking about the other end, aren't we, where those are the people who need support. And from an examiner perspective, it's in those kind of questions, even if the maths is easy, it's in those kind of areas that students find difficult. Yeah, they can do something which is straightforward, like there was a standard form question in the summer, which was further up the paper, but their performance was better because it was just basically a standard maths. But as soon as you take it out of the context, right? So I've got a question to show you in a minute. Taking a question out of context, it's the unfamiliar context and the problem solving and the reasoning skills, obviously. Other general points for the summer are things like poorly presented work was one of the issues. New topics are not well answered. Recalling relevant formulae was an issue. These are just some of the bits and pieces from the examiner reports. Not knowing how to start problems, the working being difficult to follow. These are all general exam techniques. Quality of work varying significantly, incomplete responses. But I mean, it's the general straightforward maths, even if it seems harder, they can do. But as soon as you take it out of context, into an unfamiliar context, those are the kind of areas you need to work on.
Is that under functional skills element?
Well, this is a functional.
Yeah, just that side of it.
Yeah, it is that side,
goes
isn't
across
it?
the board, even if they're functional skills students, that's one of the biggest challenges, isn't it?
Are there any recommendations from the examiner on how to address that? Because I know we spend quite a lot, some embedded asking a lot of work on problem solving, and we can spend hours and hours and hours on questions and they understand it, but when you put a new one up, gone.
Blank again.
Yeah, they can't transfer skills at all.
When you talk through it, it's fine, they understand where it's coming from, but you almost can't teach it because every question that comes up is new, and that's what getting them to retain that understanding of how to apply is one of the major challenges.
And that's what sometimes the less able, however we want to lower achievers, that's exactly what they do find difficult, isn't it? It's retaining the information and trying to apply it in a different context.
Let's go back to the 80s, where the focus was on problem solving, when they had to do, instead of just being taught discrete topics, they were taught by doing investigations. Do you remember that?
One of my exams was actually an investigation at GCC.
Frogs.
It was an investigation. You were given a scenario and you had to sit in the exam and actually problem solve, and you couldn't get any marks for that exam. That was when I was 27. And I remember the exam and I failed that and had to resit it because they gave you a scenario and you had to literally, it's like functional skills, you had to actually analyse it, weren't there? And I couldn't do it. And I did the second time, but this is the
I would say it's those kind of skills is what you need to be trying to build in. I mean, the AQA in terms of resources, it's got its 90 problem booklet. Are you already using that as a resource?
No, that's what I think we can do because that's...
Oh, right. I mean, we can move on to resources in a minute.
All these problem solving things are all about maths. I mean, if you've not had a chance, if you've not got a login, you won't be able to get into it. That's the first thing. But it would be worth certainly doing that just at the end, just going through it again.
Yes, we want to carry on past 6 o'clock. Well, we'll come to resources in a minute. If we could just talk about
just
generally about
problem
resources.
solving skills. Or just put into Google, just put AQA problem solving skills, maths, new specs, anything obvious like that, and it'll take you straight to it.
My students will do it our students will do it doing like a mock next week, and I've asked my maths teachers and I asked them like yesterday, what would you like me to, and they wrote problem solving. But I looked on Corbett Maths and couldn't find anything that said problem solving. So
we have got some questions, but the problem is they don't seem to be getting any better at it.
But these one is
Can I make a suggestion? What I used to do with my year 9s, if you have a look at the Junior UK Maths Challenge, there's some very interesting problem solving, especially the first 5 or 6 questions, to get them thinking, if that's really what you want to do. I mean, there's some interesting ones there. Exactly, but I'm saying, but it's good to, it's like these are brain gyms.
I agree with you, but my concern is you've only got 1 year, and you haven't even got maybe for 6 months. And
Yeah, but I'm talking about as a starter or something.
Yeah.
You know, 10 minutes at the beginning of the lesson, we've got 3 hour lesson.
There is have you heard of a problem solving cycle? And I'll repeat this quite a lot because it's invented by somebody for dyslexic students, but actually it talks through the steps of how to read the question and break it down.
Yeah.
And that's the nearest thing I found, and it would be lovely if one of the exam boards put something together.
Well, we've got a poster. We've actually got the AQA poster that actually has that kind of information on it. Yeah,
That's
we've
like
got the formula
huge.
poster, we've got the
Yeah,
problem
is that
solving
huge,
poster.
is it?
They're all downloadable from All About Maths.
Yeah, that would be
What I was going to say from an examiner's point of view and even teacher's point of view is to do exam questions. And I don't, obviously the route map does its own kind of thing. But if I wasn't teaching from the route map and I was just teaching, we do exam questions from day one.
Yeah,
but I think that's
we
obvious.
do that within our teaching.
Yeah, I mean it's obvious to us all, isn't it? But I think it's important that we do and focus on the particular questions where you saw, you know, I can send this presentation back to Antoinette if you want. If you're interested in having a presentation, you can go back and actually see where the performance was low, and you could look at those kind of questions, and then that will then feed in, obviously, maybe to some of your teaching.
We could also do a CPD session with you, specifically looking at problem solving. And so what we could do is take perhaps questions from the last, you know, from the summer, look at how the students answered that, and then, you know, look at how, you know, methods around supporting them. But I like your, I've had that before, you know, where at the start of each lesson, try and do a little problem solve. So as you walk in, it's literally up there, and before, you know, 10 minutes, guys, just let's get this. And so they get used to doing it each time.
I mean, the biggest problem, the biggest problem though students often have is, oh, I don't know how to start. I mean, that's the big problem. You know, you can set and
they don't know how to. They don't know how to apply the skills that are in the
another problem is manifesting itself as well. I mean, I do take the whole idea of problem solving being a generic problem for learners, but our learners really have a problem with language. And the familiarity of working with vocabulary that they will see repeated all of the time.
Well, I think
really helpful.
If you've only got 1 year and you've only got some of them appearing every other weekend or here, or there's those kind of students, and that's the reality of the college, isn't it? Then is the exam is what you're going to focus on, you know, because that's what their aim is, isn't it? Is to improve their grade. You've got to look in the language in the exams where I was going to go with that. So it's the language of the exam that you're going to need to manage.
Sorry, David, I think I'm going to interrupt a little bit here because this whole arena that we're discussing has been discussed in a research document that's just come out, which I've got, where it talks about these sort of strategies and it talks about what's been good practice in various colleges. It's not just as simple as just the language. It's the way it's taught. It's the how to relate the question to what they expect in the exam. And it's as everything else, it's multifaceted. You know, what we do in a classroom, it's got to be guided by what the students know. It's all about diagnostics, it's all about checking. It's everything we do. So try to, yeah, exactly. So I think I do agree. Obviously, language. If you've got students from different cultures and countries, of course, that's got to be something that's going to be in there predominantly. But there is a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture, and they recognise this in the document. Sorry,
I think he's going to steal your thunder, but he's going to come back to it, because then we're going to get 88% of time. We will come back to it.
So just to finish off before we're going to talk about resources, talking about, this is the paper that I'm currently marking, therefore I can't say anything about what I'm seeing, obviously. But I just wanted to pick up on maybe some of the questions and see what you think your students would do in response to something. Well, actually, I had one in particular, and I have to be very careful. I had the same problem in the summer because there was so much I could share as a team leader, but I wasn't allowed to. So it's like, this is even worse because I'm under a contract not to say anything about this, obviously. So you can see when you look at the actual style of the paper, obviously you can see you've got multi-choice at the beginning and time. One of the things AQA have tried to talk about is maybe allowing a bit more space there to try to encourage students to actually do some working. And one of the things we need to encourage them, and it's not about guessing, just because it's multi-choice, they can still be taught how to do multi-choice. It's just an answer, you've still got to work it out. There's other exams they can sit where 1 mark could be, 1 mark, I know of a paper where it's 1 mark to find the mean of continuous distribution. And it's just 1 mark. You know? So there can actually be a lot of maths wrapped up in 1 mark. So with multi-choice, it's the same kind of thing. You know, it's trying to encourage them to actually do some working out. Don't just guess. I mean, that's an aside. I just suddenly thought. But obviously you can see the style of questions we've got though. We've got a simple algebra one at the beginning, one about coins, one about, so you're trying to put them in context again, you know, trying to make it realistic. But you could talk about words on that, whether they really would answer some of that. But it's, I just wanted to show you a question. Okay, I'll have to go a bit smaller. Now, a question, the kind of question that's in an unfamiliar context. Now, you can disagree with me or with that statement, and you can say, well, David, no, it isn't. That's pretty obvious to our students. But for me, I was thinking that definitely is a kind of question which is an unfamiliar context. It's not just, oh, go and find the volume of a prism. Now, what do you think your current students you've got would do with that question?
Blank.
Yeah, it is, that is a that's it.
Yeah, you know, if you're willing and say they'll do it, they'll attempt it or not attempt it.
But it is question 25.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but if we're, I agree, but obviously if we're trying to get you from 4s to 5s, this is the kind of material.
I think it's a fair question.
Then they need to be, and it's not Pythagoras theorem, it's not trick.
Well, I just think it's talking about length and area, and put the questions about volume, won't they? They won't put the correlations together at all. Yeah.
So it's those links, isn't it? And that's what you'll see in some of the questions. That's something you get across to the students, isn't it? It's the links. There's different areas of maths now within one question. And doing as much stuff out of context and unfamiliar context as much as possible. I guess it's the same with the other boards as well. But doing as much stuff out of
DFE want
context.
this, don't they? This is what the DFE wants.
Oh yeah, but remember the whole thing is dictated by the government in the first place. That's what we can say about it.
And remember that the actual what the content is the same for every single board. It's just how it's examined.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair question for the other paper.
Anyway, you think none of your students will be able to do it? Is that what you're saying?
I think they would try.
They wouldn't try it.
They don't try out.
I think they probably could.
It's quite simple actually, isn't it?
It's very simple. This is what I'm saying. It's very simple, but
They either spot it or they don't. It's a very heuristic.
Because if they see that curve, they're going to be like,
Yeah.
no.
And the problem is, the chances are they will never have seen a question like that before. It will be completely new to them. So there's that lack of, there's no familiarity.
so that shows you that there's nothing, how more important it is to include as many in the teaching time as possible.
Yeah.
And as many unfamiliar things, like you're saying about your problem, just shove it up. I'm not talking about the teachers, it's not what I'm here for. But it's that what you're saying. Put it up there. No, it doesn't matter. They've never seen it before. What if you've never seen it before?
It's encouraging them to take the first steps,
Take
isn't
it,
it?
yes.
And also, it doesn't matter about making mistakes.
No.
And that's maths is about making mistakes. I hate to say it. That's all part of the learning process.
But anyway, when that's 25 and that's not the end of the paper, yeah, you know, then that gets you thinking maybe some of the things you've got to think about, obviously, in your teaching. In terms of, and look how many marks it is. And what I'm saying about how much is wrapped up in one mark. Just 1 mark for that.
Because if they're wasting 15 minutes on that, so just move on. By the time they've discovered what they're supposed to do, it really isn't worth 1 mark.
But if you think how many different, if they do, you've got how many 1 marks they might give up on, then they've lost the grade bound.
But I think some of the schools do that when the teachers generally say to the students, sometimes you can get bogged down.
is draw a line
Yes.
So you tend to sometimes encourage them a little bit to actually attempt 2 and 3 mark questions first.
Yes. The multi-choice is 10%. So actually, even not, you know, if you give up on the multi-choice, you easily miss the grade bound. So,
Teachers will take guess on
oh, I know.
1 in 4 chances.
I know.
They'll know the percentage.
Anyway, the number of marks is not as important as the fact it's a question in an unfamiliar context. And it's to encourage you that that kind of stuff's going to come up in the exam, therefore the students have got to be prepared for it. Shall we go?
Culture as well of having a go, isn't it? Rather than, I don't know what it is, so not having a go.
And they do say, oh, turn the page.
Yeah. Sorry,
They do do that.
From 6 o'clock we wanted to have this breakout thing, but shall I just carry on?
How do you feel, guys? Do you want to carry on?
We'd like to know about the results.
Because we have.
Although I think you've got a captive audience now, David, so I think you've got me, that's why we have.
Oh, yeah,
So that came from, they're all downloadable. All the resources, the papers now, almost as soon as they're sat and the mark scheme's up there. So you can, even though I'm still examining it, the results haven't been published yet, they're up there already. You can see exactly how I'm marking it, etc. Are they what I emailed? Did you manage to find? Did you manage to bring the images?
Yeah, these
Okay,
are...
this is what I emailed to Antoinette, which some of you might have got emailed today.
All of you will be emailed by the end of today.
So you've got it on paper now as well. So what Jane has just given you is basically a summary of a lot of the stuff if I had a chance, I would have talked about. And it's in there. Specifically, she's given you the foundation one. There's a lot of feedback in there.
There's a couple on higher, and I've got a spare one if anyone particularly wants the higher one, but I've given you the foundation one because I thought that might be more
Okay.
But there's a higher one in each table.
So if you're talking all about maths, I'm not going to spend half an hour talking through how all about maths works and stuff like that, unless you particularly wanted to.
I don't know, do people want to have a look at it? Because if people have got logins, do you know your way around all about maths? So is that something you need to have a look at or refresh?
Don't waste much time.
What's the consensus? Do you want to have a look?
It's fairly good. It's fairly good.
Is it very straightforward?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
if we just pick up on some of the businesses we've talked about. As I said to you, you've got stuff now up on the A level. You're doing A level.
Is that where the topic tests are?
Yes.
Okay. So you need the login to access those?
Yes. Which I'll send out. Everybody that's put their name on there, I'll get them to give them for you tomorrow.
So you've got route maps for the A level, you've got topic tests for the A level and stuff like that in the same, and teaching guidance. What I would say to you was, just going back to that first page actually, what I would say to you is, have you got that on your extranet or something like that, the teaching guidance? No? Yes? You have?
Yeah.
So you've all seen it?
Are you talking about A-level now?
No, GCSE.
Because I've put one of these on the table, because this is quite a hefty tome, right?
Yeah.
So we've had some printed, and there are some on the table already. So there's one here, there's a spare one here.
Right, I'll see you.
This is your Bible, literally.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing I would suggest about using the teaching guidance, and you've never looked at it, is the fact that it explains there what you need to do to be able to achieve that objective. And that's why it's so useful. You could almost teach your maths from that, because it's giving you exactly what the student should be able to achieve for that objective, and examples of the kind of things that come up in the exam. So it really is worth having.
There's only one table. So this is one here.
Yeah, it's for the...
Do you mind if I just pass it to you?
When you first go into all about maths, and you do click on new GCSE, one of the first pages you'll come across is obviously a whole list of suggestions of where you can go for things, right? So you've got your assessment resources. I don't know if any of you ever read examiner reviews, right? You might think they're a waste of space, but in fact, it's worth reading this year's, because that's what I've done on my notepad here. I've gone through every single one. It's worth just having a look, because they will highlight where the students were weak this year. So it is worth, and what a number of examiners obviously have to write it, and then the good examiner writes the whole thing. Yeah? So it's worth taking a look. The other thing I would suggest is that you've got the mock exam analyzers. Have any of you used the mock exam analyzers before? Have you used the mock? Those of you who've done A2A previous to now, have you used the mock exam analyzers?
What is the mock exam analyzer? Nice, there's a complete...
That's a no then. I will go for that one.
That's
useful. Go on, go for that.
Basically, it's a spreadsheet you can download,
Yeah.
and it has all the national data in it,
Yeah.
and your students can put in their own data. You can do it for student, for class, and then you can compare them, and then you can look at your overall performance and things like that.
That's brilliant. Is it on their website, though?
Well, I mean, they're available on
There's
all
a few
about
people
maths.
on it. It's on All About Maths.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the All About Maths.
Yeah.
I see Joyce nodding away saying, yes, I know that. Few people
We'll come back to that at the
know
end.
about that.
We particularly talked about problem solving, yeah? So at the bottom of the page here, we've got our problem solving poster, which I mentioned. Now you were asking about that, weren't you? About ideas about how you can act, and this is what it was: how to approach problem solving, which you could download and everybody could have a copy in there, however you do your work, put them on the wall. And it subliminally says AQA. I don't think that was a deliberate decision. But it says AQA there, so we're getting the message across somehow. Obviously, what can I see? What do I know? What do I need to find out? And you can always use an approach for looking at exam questions anyway. How do I approach this exam question? What's the task you need to do? What can I get rid of in terms of words, etc. So that's there. So I would encourage everybody to have copies of that. We've got the formula poster, which no doubt possibly you've already got this stuff. There's all this stuff they need to know. They don't get it in the exam. And obviously, some of it's peculiar to higher. It doesn't tell you whether it's higher or foundation. You have to go into the spec to find that out. But for argument's sake, all the trig formula you obviously need to know it by heart. Just as an example. There's no help like that anymore. And if they do want you to have something, it will say in the spec at the end on density or whatever, and they'll actually write it into the question. Other than that, even if you're going to do higher as well, they need higher, obviously need to know everything. Yeah, off by half.
So it's like exam revision in the back of your bedroom.
Well, yeah, almost, yeah.
And good for Ofsted as well, got stretch and challenge.
We've got some revision checklists there, for foundation and higher. Okay, but I was going to talk about the formula book, because you said you hadn't looked at the 90 booklet. Right, it's been around for quite a long time now. It came out of an addition. Does anybody remember the additional mathematics GCSE we had, AQA had? Right, well it came out of that. Right.
OCR we did.
Right, AQA for a couple of years had an additional mathematics exam. It wasn't any brand new GCSE material. It was basically GCSE material in a problem-solving context, which is why this booklet is so useful for what we've got now. And so the problem-solving book that came out of that work, if you go back to All About Maths, the papers are available. So if you wanted more problem-solving type papers, they are available, and the intermediate papers are available too. Right? So a lot of that material, for intermediate, it's almost like we've got the top end of the intermediate now, haven't we, with our top end of foundation. Those kind of papers, if you want more exam material, are available. Anyway, this one, just very briefly, you've got 90 problems, okay? So it's almost one a week, or well, it's more than one a week, isn't it? Basically, they talk about general strategies of how to tackle problem solving, which will take it or leave it. They talk about 5 particular strategies that are used in this booklet itself. And I've tried to relate that to exam questions that AQA have had in the past, and they do work. And if you look at some of these 5 strategies, you actually would use them if you were answering an exam question. So there's useful ideas in there if you want. If you're a brilliant teacher anyway, you might ignore it. But if you want more ideas, this might be a good place to come.
Are the questions great?
Right,
in the sense of
they are, yeah.
You know where they're pitched.
But because it was based on the legacy spec, they are graded in terms of the old foundation and higher. So yes, so at the end of the booklet, right at the end of the booklet, you get everyone, the content area, the number algebra, every item and tier that it's geared at. And that's the way they've done. They've done it in foundation or higher or a combination of the two. And then they've got the suggested strategy that could be used to answer that kind of problem. It's only suggested because problem solving is quite often done in millions of ways, isn't it? Anyway, that's at the back of that. And 30 of them have been given more detail. So if you take XQ, which is quite a good one for higher, right? 30 of the problems, and I don't know why they chose 30 and they didn't do all 90 originally, there must be some logic to it, but I don't know what it is. 30 of them actually have the problem set out with the answer, with the kind of suggestions of how you could approach it, challenges and issues that come out with it, and where you could go next with it. So that's actually a higher tier one, the higher tier class. That's actually a higher tier one. But 30 of them are like that, and they're basically in alphabetical order. You know, you've got, I don't know, there's a question in here actually, which interestingly enough is very similar to a question that came up in the paper this autumn. That's in there. Yeah, so I don't know if I can find that one. But I thought, when I looked at that question, I thought, oh, hey, we've had that there. So one of them, does anybody, I can't, if anybody can see it, probably going too quick. There it is.
There it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Now the paper I've just shown you, on all about maths, there's actually a very similar question in the paper to that. So, who knows whether the writer of the question got the idea from there? I haven't the faintest idea. But it just shows you that we could apply some of this material, and it's going to come up, well not come up, but it could be supportive of some of the exams we're doing. But anyway, there's something like that, previous height. You know, box clever, it's another one for higher tier. You know, bubble triangle. You know. Now, when we're talking about lack of words, you know, you can fiddle around with these and take words out. Things they've got to be able to do, obviously, is they've got to be able to, you can wrap a lot of maths up in just a few words. What AQA tried to do, obviously, is they tried to take words out of their exams. I'm just trying to think of a foundation one. I don't know if that would be a foundation one. Yeah. Quite a lot of words in that mind. Now, how would your students manage that chocolate mousse one?
In fact, it's the same question, worded differently.
What, in an exam?
No, in something else.
From AQA?
It's based on previously, and it was a similar question, how much butter did they need? It was, yeah, and what's the maximum amount of butter they can use if they've got this.
So anyway, I would encourage you, it's something you could use in your teaching if you're interested. You want to support that, and we've just actually seen it could be a good application, and it relates very much to the exam, even in reality, from the fact I saw that question, I thought, oh, let's had that before. So, you know, there's a lot of support in it. You could use some starters like your UK Maths Challenge stuff, couldn't you, as well? So where are we going next? So you know, there's the e-library, there's the problem solving. Craig Barton's diagnostic questions, if any of you use diagnostic questions from Craig Barton.
What's the plan with those? When do you use those?
What diagnostic questions or problem solving?
Well, I know what diagnostic is, but when is this the beginning of the year, or is this something you use all the way?
What, his diagnostic questions?
Yes.
I've never been confronted with that question. Anybody?
I don't know, has anybody used them?
Has anybody used Craig Barton's diagnostic questions?
And we always think of these, like, you know, at the beginning of the year, doing a diagnostic assessment with them, or some form
Well, I mean,
to find out
I was going to suggest that there's more, they've got more stuff on there with multi-choice questions. So he's got some stuff on there, you know, for AQAs. There's all the boards on there, I think.
Yeah,
but yeah, have a look at it. The thing to do is to investigate and see how they can work within your teaching. Yeah. I mean, you've got here. Anyway. I was going to show you previous. Right, specimen papers. So we've got all the practice papers, obviously, so in terms of resources, and legacy question papers. So there's the intermediate tier. So if you want stuff on intermediate, like I said, there's the additional mathematics stuff, which I mentioned. That's in a foundation and a higher split, but obviously more problem-solving type questions.
Yes, David, these Bibles that they're now super gluing themselves onto and kind of scribing in blood for names. Where's that downloadable from? Can I ask on the site? Because I've seen a few people kind of go like that around these resources now. But I just wondered,
It's right at the beginning.
Teaching guidance right at the beginning.
Yeah. On the left-hand side, that's where it'll start off there.
And it's right on the first page.
Oh, right, yeah. You might kill off your read the graphics about them.
Exactly. We'll be out of class in no time.
Obviously, within your own colleges.
So, just one more thing on the problem-solving thing. They've got some problem-solving and reasoning specifically here. Seems to draw a blank. Wasn't supposed to do that. It's a problem to solve, that is, isn't it?
Maybe that is the right side.
Maybe that's any kind of broken web link and work it out.
Oh, it's down here. I wasn't going to close it down. That was it. The problem was I hadn't scrolled down far enough. So I solved that one. I got 1 mark for that. So I know how to scroll with a mouse. That's definitely 1 mark.
Okay, pass.
I passed that. So what AQA did was they went through. I've suggested the intermediate papers in additional mathematics. You're going to think, what on earth have I got to waste my time going through those papers for? I can't be bothered. So they've done that for you. So what AQA done, they've gone through it and picked out stuff in connection with problem solving and reasoning out of those. I think there's about 140 questions or something like that. They've actually gone through the previous papers, even the level 2 certificate in further maths.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, just occurred to me. What would be really great for the FE sector and GCSE research sectors if you could have, like, where you collated certain types of questions, where you could collate certain types of questions around like a vocationally type subjects, whether it's to do with bakery and cooking or recipes or whatever. That'd be really cool, wouldn't it? And we could have a repository or a pointer that says we want questions that are all about areas of animal pens or, you know. Quite a cool thing for AQA. It'd be a cool thing for AQA to do.
It might be a book right.
Yeah, I'd say that.
But can you see what I'm saying? It'd be a cool thing for AQA to do.
That's a great idea. So you mean something like if you were doing, I don't know, geography, for example?
Yes.
Well, we've got geography students.
Yeah.
You know,
the masters
and
and that.
click. Oh look, there's some related questions. Because one of the things we're always being asked, and one of the things that crops up in this report is what's worked really well at Halesowen College is that they will have the ability to pull it, because the teachers were working within different faculties.
Yeah.
They had the ability to speak to teachers, say, well, what sort of maths questions they like to draw into from their topic.
Yeah.
For example, you know, how much space a rabbit needs, you know, before it has a problem. And I think AQA would be really good, because it looks as if you're very good at filtering out stuff. There's a job for you guys that could be very useful.
That's in there. I'll read that back and see what.
Well, you'll develop it too.
That would make a perfect.
Yeah. Because especially now with the oncoming thing with T-levels, technical levels, and all this other stuff that government want to bring in, I think it's something you guys could be ahead of the game on. Right. By the way, on to commission.
Okay. You might be right, Rich. You might be right.
I don't know if you feel that relates to the unfamiliar content and the crossover. For some of them, yeah. I mean, and that's the more experience you have with the actual papers and questions yourselves, you'll hopefully be able to begin to see which questions will also relate to the other subjects.
I think it's nice to have a repository.
Oh, well, I know. Yeah, I'm talking about
because you guys have access to massive databases, and you have access to all these sort of, you guys could do that much easier than we could.
Yeah.
Especially if you're new to teaching, or if we're as busy as you could imagine, you know. Whereas you guys, you have got that, you've got the facilities to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that will be very good for you. You two.
If you don't ask, you don't get. So let's ask the question.
Sharon,
when we looked at the slide earlier, you can see they did better on AO1 than AO2 and AO3. That's obvious, isn't it? In some senses. What they've done with these is you've got AO2 foundation, and you've got AO2 higher, and you've got AO3 foundation, and you've got higher, and then you've got ones that are common to both. So with these reasoning and problem solving questions. So what they try to do, they have tried to use different levels. Take some of the work out for yourselves. Is there anything particularly else on, there's lots more obviously on the resources we could talk about. Bridging the gap, not relevant. There's the webinar, which I suggest if you still want to do more material on, look at that presentation, a modified version of the presentation I did, actually what Andy did online, it's all there. You can give yourself a lot more information, it's about 40 minutes. And there's other blog information on Better Maths on the feedback. David Bassett and Andrew Taylor have written more information on the feedback for the exam. So, that's a little bit on resources, a little bit on feedback of the exam. Not really having enough time to talk about anything in particular detail. We've got a few minutes left. So
do you have anything on level 3 core maths, any resources?
I've got information on that which I can leave with you, but I would suggest, if you want to look at that specifically, that we have somebody in to talk about that, because we've done a lot of project work around the country on that as well, so we've got feedback from those project centres, and we do have a specialist in core maths, which is Sandra, and unfortunately he couldn't be here tonight, otherwise we could have done more on that, because he's the guy that's helped with that. So, or if it's not appropriate to everybody, I could just get him to pop and see you. It's entirely up to you guys. What would the group feel? Would the group be interested in having somebody?
We've run core maths now. This is our 2nd year.
Yeah.
And the textbooks are so different. They're so different. And Mark, our subject leader for A-level, he's pulled together a few textbooks and we use bits and pieces. I've just got involved in it as well. And there is a great scope for, we were playing with Xena cards because I've got psychologists that are doing it. And actually, it's a great opportunity to hook the kids in. Because the kids will go one of two ways. Either they'll get bored senseless and say, why am I doing this? Or you can really hook them in. But it's not always easy. You've got to be fairly well experienced to see what's out there. I found when I was looking at these Xena cards, I went into this psychic science website, and it had normal distributions. Because there's people all over the country playing these games to see if they're psychic or not. And they had all the normal distributions. Significance, confidence, there's a plethora of stuff out there, but you just got to go fishing for it. And I think you're absolutely right. If you're looking for off-the-shelf resources, it's not that easy. Because I don't think people have got a whole... Because I know Arthur Terry are doing their own thing, Fairfax are doing their own thing, and the stuff out there is not bad, but there's so much of it, and it's all very varied, and you've got to add to it. And it's to teach it, and I've only just started it, and I'm starting to realise it's actually quite demanding. It's great fun if you're one sort of teacher that likes his maths, or likes her maths. But if you're putting somebody in that hasn't done it before, that's maybe got a heavy workload, then it is actually quite difficult thing to do.
Working in the way you need an energetic teacher and students likewise.
You've got to equip the kids in, definitely, with core maths.
Thank you.
Okay, so
you guys don't think you do have evaluation forms at the end of this evening, so if there are things that you do want, please tell us your name of your college as well, and just put it on the advance.
What else? Has anybody got any other queries or questions for Jane and I now?
I just had a question here about A-level papers, and I know Richard called me on that earlier. I'm just going to go.
GCSE ones that
we're very much sort of on a need-to-know basis, so we sort of find out when you find out, and sometimes you tell me that they're on that. So I will drop Andrew, who's our head of curriculum, an email tomorrow. I'll find out about that. Anything that I get feedback, I'll give back to you and to go around to everybody. So in future, if you wanted to do something much more specific at these meetings, like we mentioned the core maths, that's just an idea. I can see you about that, or get somebody to see you about that. But if there's anything else about the problem solving, or something else, or anything about the A-level, anything like that, just let me know, and I can arrange it and speak to you about it, and we can get somebody to come in and specialise in that, including the head of maths. Andrew would be delighted to come and talk to you all. So,
like I say, nobody likes doing evaluation forms, but that's what they are for. What do you want?
Do you want something from more specific for next time?
Is
Is there anything else specific from what we took out today, though? Any other queries or comments?
No, can we say a big thank you to you
Yes.
guys?
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the club.
I'm sorry I couldn't give you much more detail on
Yeah,
the feedback, but we would have needed quite a long time to go into specific
Yeah, we
questions.
were a bit sort of trying to put this together because there's not a lot of time. But hopefully I've left you some stuff on your tables, including hard copies of various different things. So yeah, what you don't want. If you want to keep, because I will get off now. Put it in a corner, I'll come because I'm walking down here all the time.
No
Just put it in a corner.
Fantastic.
Okay,
Very
keep
much.
it. I brought you some calculators, guys.
Oh yes, you've got freebies and there is We've seen them, so yeah, there might be stocking, who knows, but anyway, help yourselves please.
So in the last 5 minutes before Jane and I leave, just, if you have a particular question you want to ask us personally, just do that.
Yeah, can we break out and get coffee and ask informally, guys? You're welcome to. And then I think Richard is going to do a little bit of a brief. Is that right, Rich?
Well, I was just discussing with Joy, because I think Joy is maybe from an operational point of view, I
Yeah.
think Joy's is probably more important.
Oh, okay,
I
that's
think
fine.
so.
We can have a bit of a breakout, get a drink, and we reconvene in about 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
I can always do mine another day.
Okay, no problem, Rich. I'm on the
See how it goes, Joy. See how it goes. If I've got something for you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. You never know how these things are going to take a spin depending on the audience.
You know your building? Yeah. You know the old engineering? Yes, that's why they mentioned I was the one standing outside. I saw us. It's all the biomass. That was the wasting out. Yeah, it's a lovely. Yes, that's what
You should have expected that person to share with the group.
Okay, so I think
Did you want me to get some to speak to you? Do you want me to give my email address? Yeah. It's Jane Green.
Sometimes these things bounce back. It's 07 876 868 606. Yeah, so by all means, you know, it's like, you might have questions and then I can get, I can put you in touch with us about the expert for that. But if you,
It's gone bigger than
it's just don't know what to do. Any help you want at all, it's difficult to do that. We do CPGs, so again, I think yes, any help, I appreciate you guys, because you don't know what you're going to get, where you're which you know, the standards, exactly, it's putting this on start again. Correct, so I appreciate that. Anyway,
put that in there, Tara, then.
Tara, I've just put GCSE
And on the text, just an exercise. You can mirror that book.
Seriously, can't see it.
You know where you're going? Car park Steve. Oh, you're right, the posh Third quiz, you have to take a selfie Alfie, hats on, and tweet it, TM. Oh, I think that repeats that. Oh,
But it's a good qualification.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm just tweeting it out.
I don't think it looks like Jane.
Thank you. We'll be in contact. Really nice. All right, there you go.
I think it's best to talk about Joy does her bit.
Joy does her bit. Okay, right, okay.
Let's get a jumper on.
So Joy, I'll let you reconvene when you're ready. Obviously, if the other team do want to take a bit of a
I refuse to wear that hat. I'm just going to take it to the car.
To get to close, and then I'll make
But who's this? So this weekend?
Car park C, I think it is.
We've already picked
I was trying not to be rude.
Right, they're just here.
Okay, guys, I think we're all pretty much back apart from Richard. I don't have anything formal planned, if I'm honest, because I didn't want to stand and talk at everybody. But I thought it might just be useful just to maybe have a chat collectively, really. I don't know if you want to move your tables or if you want to move around so you're not just talking in the same groups. But at Halesowen, we're in a bit of a transition at the moment. Where now that AQA have gone, I kind of feel like I'm in a better position to say, well, we're signed up to AQA at the moment, all ready to go, resources, etc. And then we saw their papers, and I mean, I don't know about you guys, I don't know what exam board you're using, but what stood out to us was that the AQA, the wording of it in particular was a lot, or seemed a lot, less accessible than competitive exam boards. And I think for me, today I just wanted to kind of get a feel for what you guys are doing and where you're at. And
where's that colleague from BMET? Who said I might flitz between English and maths, and he's had no chance all night but to stay with maths.
You can ask.
Sorry, what's your name?
I'm David, sorry.
David. David, what's the BMET experience? Which board are you using at the moment?
I have my mouth full of chocolate.
Oh,
actually, I make no apologies for it.
I feel like the waitress that says, is your food all right? Just at the right moment. Oh, yeah, it's fine.
We're very much with, we've been looking at this for a while actually, and we are sitting with AQA at the moment.
Yes.
We are like you. Gosh, it's amazing how similar the situation is.
Yeah, so when you get together.
It really is, yeah. We're reviewing this at the moment actually, and having a look at what might be best for our learners, because some trends are really beginning to emerge.
Yeah.
And we think that we have to respond to it. We can't just keep our
stick with what you know.
Direction. Yeah, indeed. And that's one of the reasons I'm here today actually, to try and see what the general sort of consensus is out there.
Yeah.
I have real problems with accessibility for this qualification for our learners.
Yeah.
I was scared when I saw that graph. I'm not a mathematician, but I was put myself in the place of a GCSE student, and I looked at it and thought, I wouldn't attempt that question.
Yeah.
I think there's really issues for the lower end actually. I can see what they're trying to do between AS and the upper tier, but I think there's so many of our learners may be left behind, and I think there are real issues of particularly second language English speakers accessing some of this stuff. I don't know what the solution is right now, but this is currently where we're at.
So it's one of the things to explore perhaps at another meeting. It's some of your evaluation polls, I don't lead you, but to get other exam boards in as well. So you've got a comparison.
I think people stick with what they know.
Yeah.
But I don't know how appropriate that is.
So we've moved around quite a lot. We did OCR for the legacy paper.
Right.
We switched to AQA
Because Sanjeev came in to speak to us, didn't he? And
Yes, he did.
gave us quite a good overview. And in terms of resources, we were really impressed, and particularly the multiple choice element on the paper. We thought, well, actually, the answer's there in front of them. They might have started working it out. But I'm not here to say like Excel by any means, but we had some external candidates sitting in the Excel paper, and just looking at it at face value, it seems to be more representative of the legacy paper. And I think that's what we're exploring now. We've got mock exams coming up in a week, and we've split our cohort, and we're giving half of them Excel, half of them AQA. Some classes are where the students are more responsive, they're doing 2 mock exams for us. So we've got a direct comparison, and we're going to go with the results and let them.
Well, didn't you do something similar to that where you got your learners to was it the higher tier and the lower tier? I know there's something at Sandwell last year on the GCSE.
Yeah, we handpicked few learners and we gave them both AQA and Excel.
That's what you did?
Yeah.
And what did you find?
An Excel rating.
Excel
yeah.
Substantially. Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting at your next meeting,
because
really.
so I personally find the language, because many Eastern European students, they can't access English. But Excel, there is more maths there, whereas AQA, you can dig deep for maths. And that's one of the reasons why we changed to Excel.
Oh right, so you fully changed now on that?
Oh yes, we have changed from last year onwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, and that was under Jane, wasn't it? Is it Jane Perkins that now?
Jane joined later.
Jane joined late. Oh, you'd already made that decision, right?
Yeah, because we had a different head of department before, and I was actively involved in some decision making, but as a lecturer. Then I took over the department since a year, and me and Jane together.
Yes.
Then I'm kind of old school mathematician.
Yeah, you want the maths there. You don't want to have to get through the English
Yeah,
book.
so that's why I like maths, not the English, and you're deep for maths.
Yeah.
So that's why. And plus the resources what the gentleman was talking about. Excel has same resources.
Right.
Exactly the same. There is an emporium. You can take it for the, the past paper, the practice papers are all there. The spreadsheet that we were talking about is still there.
Okay,
Excel, in similar versions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think so. We are missing out anything.
Yeah.
Plus we have the diagnostic assessments there.
Yes.
And, but we haven't used it. We are making our own diagnostic.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Right.
And we are assessing them. We are planning all our diagnostic and assessment ourselves. Only for the mocks, we're going to use the real paper.
Right, that's interesting.
Are you open to sharing that?
Of course, why not? Yeah.
Well, maybe that is part of your agenda for your next TeachMeet. A bring and share TeachMeet would be nice. Wolverhampton, can you tell me about your exam board and how you use it at the moment?
Pearson.
Pearson, right, okay. So you're going with Excel as well. Was there a reason for that? Or was it just already there when you inherited it?
Right, I've got to go. I was there 2 years ago as an interim.
Right.
And I'm now back.
Yes.
You worked in this department when I was there last time, so we were all relatively new.
Right.
I got it in my head that we were using AQA 2 years ago.
Right. And again,
at the time we did a lot of work around what exam board we were going to use.
Yes.
And then my contract finished.
Right. So then there's a bit of a break.
So then I've come back now and they're using...
And presumably, again, it was results driven that decision was made at the time, was that?
And resources as well.
Oh, right.
The stuff that was out there.
Right, okay, so next over quick off the march really with that one. Okay. Interesting feedback.
You're right where the papers feel legacy.
Yeah.
And learners, obviously there's some learners that are based on it, but definitely they feel it's a paper they use there, so it's a positive.
That's what stood out to me. Rather than the whole story English language paper, it was just a solve this, work out this.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question? What was your 16 to 18 pass rate with GCSE last year?
It was 18.
No,
my grades, it was like about 84%.
Pass rate?
Oh, pass rate.
18%? That's still around the national average.
Well, we actually didn't, I don't know, did we? We went down like 3%.
Yeah, but it's still...
The national average is
about
about
19.
5-6%.
So Richard, what's those on?
We got 26.
That's very good. 26.
Very good.
Sam
We
put
got
a
20.
lot of investment into the math.
Yeah, we got 20.
And they've got Jane Perkins, of course.
And we've got Jane Perkins, they have a secret weapon, and they've also got this lovely young man in front of us as well, who seems to have been already doing quite a lot of stuff before then.
So Sanjeev, should we work at Halesowen?
You pinch Jane, we'll pinch you.
Can't be Jane Perkins, you can work
That's it from me really. I just was interested in just where we were at. I mean, if anyone else has got anything that you want to throw into the mix, please.
I think possibly,
if not,
if it's possible to do the evaluations, what I'd really like from you guys is what would you like out of the next session? And if you can indicate when's the best time to do it, because it failed last time. Last time we were on this for the February and the March, it didn't work. We ended up cancelling it. There was only about 3 of us from other colleges that wanted to come outside of Halesowen. So if you can tell us an indicative date of when it would be good for you, we'll try and take a straw poll on that one. But what do you want out the next session? If it's an agenda for discussion, if it's another exam board coming in, if so, which ones do we want to try, what do you want out of it? And I'll collate all of this, because our next event will be run at the Halesowen College, but the agenda will be driven by year's day, and hopefully you'll get the opportunity to come the next time. So if I leave you with the evaluation forms, okay, that would be wonderful. If anybody has done the competition, I need to see these coming in, and who has gone through it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, can I ask it? Okay. Oh, we're getting all very competitive now. I'll let you pass them out. You're getting very competitive. Oh, have you finished it? Is that
like
finished.
you.
Well done for somebody else.
Don't hand it in, Brad.
Not here.
Did you mention as well?
Now then, we've got live entertainment from
So
these.
it's just going to be a Rachel.
Antoinette.
Yes,
We
we
were
did.
going to use your reference.
Yes, I'm guessing.
Did you find out Vanessa not be invited to the BCCBs because her competitive nature is
Who's that?
becoming
Did you get that old
So
lady?
slightly you're in the entertainment team. You know this.
Joy, did you get the old lady on the back?
Is that the main there?
That's going to be announced.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. 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 I wanna wish you a
That's the maths and English at Halesowen. Many, many talents.
Okay.
You want it again? Oh no, there's a better one than that. Where's that? Oh, okay. There's another one as well.
To teach it, it's like you realise what it's because I did one lesson on kids
Right, okay, I need to mark these now. Right, okay. Well, there are 3 entries, and there are 3 prizes. It's quite intriguing, really. Now then, this person, Tara, has had a go at some of her authors and all of her Sudoku, and I can confirm that all of the Sudoku is actually correct. Sudoku. And there's 3 of your correct answers on the Sudoku, so well done. But the ones that you found quite hard was the bits when it came to the English, because English team, God bless them, got shut through there. They actually had a chance to go for tonight. But well done, because some of you did have a go at some of the people that were hidden behind the mask. And of course, in number 1 was good old Shakespeare. Well done. Tara, you got that one right. Well done. Give her a round of applause. Well done. Esther got that one right as well. Fantastic, Esther. And Rachel, where's Rachel? Rachel gives away. She got that one right as well. Okay, number 2. Well done. Ooh. Mary Shelley. You didn't say Jane Bronte or anybody like that. Now, actually, Sarah found that one hard because she had this Virginia Woolf. That was an hard one. But you all got this one right. You all said J.K. Rowling. Well done. So you're neck and neck now, aren't you, on the English? And all of you got this one right. Although somebody said Mark Twain. Who's saying that one? Sorry, you didn't get that one right. No, stick to the maths.
Is it Dickens?
She loves his Charles Dickens, yes. And of course this guy, 2 have you got right. So it's neck and neck down to Esther and Rachel on this one. This was Dan Brown. And the lady that you don't recognise, who was ever so sweet like Miss Marple, is actually the very famous P.D. James. But I've got to say, for having a go And Esther is the only person tonight that has a selfie Elfie with a little hat on. So with a selfie Elfie prize, she didn't have Twitter, she gets a little present from Santa. Give her a round of applause. There you go. Okay, she can share them with Richard, and she can share them with the team because they helped to do it tonight. For having a go at the English and doing well, we're going to give this one to Rachel because she came kind of joint second on the kind of English. Give her a round of applause. And because Tara, bless her, isn't that great at the Old English, but she got absolutely full marks on the Sudoku. Please give her a round of applause to the lovely Tara Purchase. Okay, a round of applause. Now please, do take some food with you. For these year evaluations, do take some food with you, because otherwise we have to give it to the caretakers. And you know, God bless them, they're doing this going a bit of a diet these days, just want to get back through this door tonight. So I hope you've had a lovely evening. Please do leave the evaluation forms with us. I will evaluate those, I will look at those, and I will try and put on an event that's going to work for us. And if you give us an idea of when is a good date for you, in around the March time, that would be great as a hint, because like I say, last time we had to cancel the little ones because we just didn't get it right. It didn't work for people at that time. We realised we got the timings wrong. And on that note, I wish you all a very festive Christmas. Do take all your goodies and treats away with you, otherwise Richard will hoover them all up. You know you've got that rogue student that never brings a calculator. Have a scoot round the other tables as well. Otherwise, have a lovely evening and thank you for tonight. Okay, have a good safe drive home. Thank you. Shall I have you dance? There you go. Play you out to the girls. Okay, get your evaluations done. Safe journey home. Thank you everybody for your evaluations. That's an empty one.
That's good. That's good.
Oh, great, fantastic.
Share any resources, anything that can help.
Which one should I go for? Should I go for this one? Should I go for this one?
One of my colleagues in that room.
Got it covered. Got it covered. Sounds good. That's good. Yes, we do. Thank you very much. Thank you. I also have an excuse today, so I'll say no pressure. Thank you very much. I'll drop you an email.